Hello and welcome back to the Man from Hildebrand, episode 5, I believe. It is kind of sod's law that as soon as I publish a video, the next day some biggish news comes out which is worth reporting, and then you don't hear anything for 2 weeks, which then means that my news roundup then seems to be 2 weeks sort of out of date. So on the 11th of February, the day after I published the last video, Ian Fleming Publications had announced that they had partnered up with Big Finish Productions to adapt Silverfin into a audio drama. Now, I believe that they are looking at adapting all of the Charlie Hickson Young Bond novels, but understandably they're going to start with Silverfin, which I believe is going to be released in September this year, and it's going to be a 16-part sort of serial. They are currently looking for voice actors, looking for somebody to play a young James Bond and a female to play Wilder Lawless, who of course is the love interest in Silverfin. So yeah, it's kind of really cool news because after all, I mean, back in January, it marked the 20th anniversary since the publication of Blood Fever. So I think it's kind of really cool that Ian Fleming Publications are kind of regenerating and kind of giving the Young Bond series a bit more recognition, because I feel that nothing's really been said since they was first published. So having audio dramas is a kind of sort of new approach, and a kind of a new medium. I mean, obviously, if Amazon kind of said, yeah, we're going to do a TV series based on Young Bond, absolutely fantastic. But I'm just going to just even take these audio dramas as kind of the best next, the kind of next best thing. So these audio dramas, I mean, I'm not kind of really massively familiar with them. I mean, obviously, I think the Ian Fleming novels, they've been done quite a few times over the years. Famous big known actors have kind of read them. Kenneth Branagh, Bill Nighy, Dan Stevens, Hugh Bonneville, Rosamund Pike, Joanne Lumley. So over the years I've had some big. I mean, I think Richard Armitage, I think he's the latest person to do the serials or do the radio dramas. And of course, Radio 4, over the years, they have kind of adapted the Bond novels as well, with none other than Toby Stephens playing James Bond. So yeah, I am kind of familiar with sort of the radio dramas of the Flemings, but I personally don't own any. But with what I kind of believe and with what I understand, is that these audio dramas is basically like going to the cinema and just closing your eyes. Just kind of let, just don't take into account the visuals, but just take into, the sound effect, the dialogue, and the music. Talking of music, Joe Kramer is doing the music for Silverfin. Now, he did the score for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and he's done a lot of work for the Jerry Anderson concerts. So he is a bit of a well-established name within the music industry. Whether or not he will give us a Bond theme, I don't know. So it's really interesting to see what he will bring to the fold. Another thing which is kind of interesting is Big Finish Productions have worked a lot alongside with the Doctor Who franchise. They have done various adaptations and even done original stories themselves, which have been produced by none other than Steve Cole, who of course took on the mantle after Charlie Hickson. So again, whether or not we will eventually get the Steve Cole Young Bond novels being adapted, who knows? If it was down to me, I would want Big Finish Productions to do Colonel Sun, all the John Gardner novels, Raymond Benson, the Anthony Horowitz, Sebastian Faulks, William Boyd. I want them to do the whole lot, because I kind of keep saying this, is that Ian Fleming Publications need to really, sort of just not ignore the continuation authors, celebrate them, keep them alive, keep them kind of going, you know, because it is part of the Bond legacy. So we've got Silverfin audio drama by Big Finish Productions being released in September of this year. It's available as download, streaming, MP3, whatever you call it. But I believe and have read that it's also going to be available in CD format as well, so you can have a physical copy of it. That kind of does sort of interest me, because I know that for the Doctor Who series from Big Finish Productions, they released audio CDs as well, with artwork by none other than the legendary Sean Longmore. Now, of course, Sean Longmore is a big name within the world of Bond, because he has done some fantastic James Bond fan art over the years, as well as supplying the covers for two of Mark Edlitz's books, as well as, I believe, a magazine cover for one of the MI6 Confidential issues. So yeah, Sean Longmore, I mean, yeah, the work and the style that he's done for Bond, or style in general, I just absolutely love. And I'm looking at a wall space right in front of me with his name on it. I've got 2 pieces. I'm hoping that he will just release another 5 pieces so I can get that wall complete. I have got, so far, the Skyfall piece he did, which is inspired by the Japanese posters, and that's, I kind of feel that with Sean Longmore's work, he has kind of paid respect and paid tribute to the Japanese posters, because I just absolutely love their artwork, which is why I've got the Mini GT Japanese editions, because of their artwork. He's also done, he's also had a contract with 88 Films, who are kind of like a distribution company, and they kind of specialise in a lot of older films, and they've done a lot of reissues of the Hong Kong martial arts films starring Jackie Chan. So you've got The Police Story, Drunken Master, all of them, and he has just gone and provided the artwork for the actual sort of Blu-ray DVD covers. If I go into HMV and look at the 88 film section, I will just know exactly which ones he's done, because the style and his artwork, it's just so distinctive. It's kind of got Sean written all over it, you know. You know which ones he's done. Whether or not he will basically provide the artwork for the Young Bond series, I don't know. I just really hope that for his sake he does, because he's obviously a Bond fan, and for him to then sort of kind of do something officially, which is officially connected, must be a dream come true. So I'm kind of really looking forward to see if that will be the case for Sean. But generally, I'm really looking forward to Silverfin, and I'm assuming that if this takes off, they will then go ahead and do the other Charlie X and Young Bond stories as well. The day after the audio dramas was announced, I saw something on social media where Stephen Knight kind of gives a little bit more of Bond 26. No more fun and games. Stephen Knight's 120-page draft for Bond 26 promises a sacred reinvention that trades gadgets for a 1950s-style psychological edge. The gadgets are gone, and Stephen Knight wants it that way. Early Whispers says Bond 26 is trading spectacle for psychological grit under Denis Villeneuve's sacred vision. A younger, breakable 007. Fewer tricks, more scars. Is this the most dangerous reinvention of James Bond? So yeah, what I love is that every now and again we'll get sort of drip-fed these bits from Stephen Knight. So yeah, I mean, I think last year he said that he was looking at the earlier Fleming novels for inspiration. With what is said now, I'm kind of seeing it as, you know, Bond 26 is going to be very much in the vein of Her Majesty's Secret Service and Casino Royale, where it's not going to be heavily relied on gadgets. It's going to be relying on Bond's wit. It's going to be, you know, kind of back to basics. I mean, you know, to trade the spectacle for psychological sort of warfare or whatever isn't necessarily a bad thing, because what you'll find is that, you know, following the roots from Eon, is that when they introduce a Bond actor, their first film is kind of very low budget. It's not out there. It's kind of, it, you know, it is back to basics, because, you know, what they don't want to do is, if they've got a new actor as Bond, they aren't going to chuck all the money at it in case it fails. So I feel that Amazon are kind of doing the same thing. And obviously, you know, in 3 or 4 films time, you know, once this new actor is established, that the films will get bigger and bigger. I mean, obviously, Casino Royale, that was done on a £60 million budget. Craig got paid 5 million. By the time we got to No Time to Die, it was like around 300 million. It became the most expensive film ever made at the time. I don't know how much Craig was on, but even though No Time to Die wasn't massively over the top, the scale and the size certainly got, you know, was there, and you could see it because they're spending more money on it. So the fact that, you know, Bond 26 is probably going to be sort of kind of stripped back a bit and be quite basic isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's something that, you know, we've had before. And I say, you know, swapping the gadgets, it's again, it's not a bad thing. You know, I do like it when Bond does use his wit, and, you know, I just think, you know, it's just one of them wait and sees. But so far, I mean, obviously, a lot of people are kind of speculating, you know, kind of sort of already sort of judging it heavily and kind of making the worst case scenario. Well, you can't judge it until you've seen the film. But I'm so far, I'm happy with what Steve. I mean, I trust him because he is a Bond fan. I kind of feel that it may be in the style of From Russia with Love, which is, personally, I find is the kind of epitome of a spy thriller. You know, I mean, James Bond is the most famous spy in the world. It's a huge cinema franchise. You think of a secret agent, you think of a famous spy, you think of James Bond. But yet, From Russia with Love, that one film, is probably the only film out of all of the 27 films which is a proper, true spy thriller. You know, if Bond 26 goes down that route, it's all good. But yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not worried with the latest statement from Stephen Knight. I'm pretty kind of happy with that. Also, we had got a new trailer for First Light, which focused on the story. Within this trailer, we had got a few more kind of characters, I suppose. I mean, again, they kind of focused a lot on the Iceland sequence. Iceland gets mentioned. We know that, you know, Bond was involved in some sort of mission in Iceland, presumably before his 00 days. That something went wrong in that mission. We don't know what, but something went wrong, which then leads to Greenway, who is somebody who works for the government. Obviously, you know, Bond's given him such an impression that Greenway feels like that Bond isn't the right man to become a 00, whereas M seems to think the opposite. We see kind of sort of bits with Bond within the kind of so-called military and within a group training and all this and that, which is kind of cool because we've never actually seen that side of Bond before. We very rarely have read about his days sort of pre-Secret Service. We know that he was in the Royal Navy, but Fleming never really mentioned about his escapades in the Navy. So I kind of feel this old First Light business is going to just shed a different angle on the character, which I really like. Is like, you know, Skyfall kind of went past to his child and to his sort of ancestral home. A lot of people have problems with that, but I didn't. I really liked how the way they explored his past, and I kind of feel that is the way to go about it. So yeah, so in this trailer we kind of obviously saw Bond in the military, doing training and stuff with, probably with a group of friends. We see him with very short hair. He's got like the crew cut, which is interesting because throughout the game, as time evolves and develops, his hair gets a little bit longer. So we see a very sort of young Bond still in the military. We are also introduced to a new character, which a lot of people are thinking could be 009, who seems to appear a lot older. He seems a bit chubby, seems greyer. He might well not be 009, but there's a lot of assumption that he is. So yeah, to see 00, well, to see this other character is pretty cool. There's also a bit where is basically, sees Bond and wants to recruit him and says, I want you to be part of His Majesty's Secret Service. And it's like, oh, you're kidding. So again, that kind of, is probably the first time that we've actually ever heard His Majesty's Secret Service being mentioned. Yes, Charlie Dixon obviously did on His Majesty's Secret Service novel, but to see it visually and to see that being spoken by Bond characters, it is a bit sort of odd, because it kind of reminds you that, times have changed. The Queen's obviously passed. For so long, it's always been Her Majesty's Secret Service, and now it's His Majesty's Secret Service, which no doubt will be something that will be echoed in Bond 26. Also, I've noticed that there seems to be a little bit of a Craig era throwback. There's a line that says, double O's don't have a very short life expectancy, which is exactly what was said in Casino Royale. And I kind of feel that Patrick Gibson's Bond is kind of in the same sort of vein as Craig, where it is a bit gritty, it is a bit dark, and he is basically, as M says, is a bullet without a target. He is absolutely reckless. And yeah, Craig was that as well. I think I kind of saw the recklessness more in Craig than I ever done in all the other Bonds before that. So it is kind of definitely coming off the back end of the Craig era and kind of keeping to that vein. And, obviously, as I said earlier, Greenway seems to, doesn't seem to think Bond is ready for the job or suited for the job, whereas M thinks he's perfect. And basically M says, in one way or another, if you fuck up, we'll deny all knowledge of knowing you. And he's like, yeah, that's perfect. So there's definitely that sort of, don't give a shit attitude. It's kind of also, it also sounds like that the 00 program has been reinstated. From what we've heard in the trailer, it kind of sounds like that it may have been redundant. They might have retired it, probably due to government spending, I don't know. But then all of a sudden, due to probably change of government or whatever, they've then reinstated it, and M's now looking for new, 00s to come and join. So yes, there's also another Aston Martin that appears. I believe it's a DBS, which again was seen from the Craig era, from Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace. So I believe that now makes it the third Aston Martin within First Line. We obviously see the old 1969 DBS, the nod to Her Majesty's Secret Service with the Persuader's colour. I believe, looking at the trailers, I think that's not Bond's car. That's a car that he just hotwires and nicks and escapes in. And then we have the Aston Martin Valhalla, which again is from the Daniel Craig era. And then there's a scene of an Aston Martin DBS without any rear number plates on. So it'll be interesting to see what happened to them. So yeah, there's definitely kind of paying sort of tribute to the Craig era. Then we've also got this person in the mask, which the more I'm kind of thinking about it, the more I'm thinking, you know what, I might just get that mask. There's great discussions amongst the community, because it's become a giant guess who in who is that person in that mask. We now know that person has long hair. I don't think it's a female because it just doesn't seem to have a body of a female, but I don't think that kind of matters in the world we live in now. So yeah, I mean, that could be an ally, it could be the main villain. Who knows until we play that game, but there's certainly a bit of mystery around the person in the mask. But yeah, overall, I kind of feel that what we're getting from First Light, we seem to be getting a whole different angle that we have never seen from Bond before. It's definitely kind of exploring his sort of pre-service days, you know, when he was in the military, which is great because, you know, more of that, the better. I'm not too sure if Jeffrey Deaver kind of delved into that with his one-off novel Carte Blanche, because that's the only Bond novel I haven't read because for other reasons. First Light, I just think it's really interesting because IO Interactive are kind of exploring something which has never been sort of explored before. And I kind of said this a while back that when they first released the title and the trailer back in June last year, as soon as I saw it, I thought, okay, this is cool, but where does this leave Bond 26? Because everything that was in that trailer, I was expecting from Bond 26. First Light is said to be the first in a trilogy of games, so it depends on how well they do with this. I would imagine that they'll obviously release First Light, then we'll get Bond 26, we'll get the second part to First Light, Bond 27, third part to First Light, and then Bond 28. So it could work. I'm not saying it's going to be connected, but it'll work alongside it. The way that IO Interactive are going is probably the only way you could go with Bond, especially if you want to try and bring in a new audience and a new generation. You've got to kind of explore something, is like military side, which nobody of us know, but then you've got to kind of keep to that legacy. I saw something on Instagram the other day where Bond in First Light is wearing a paisley shirt, which apparently is by All About Brown. They haven't released that shirt yet, which is now getting me to think that maybe I might just have been wrong, and I might have just mistaken the old thing, that maybe All About Brown haven't actually got anything in stock or in line for 60 Years of Thunderball or View to a Kill or GoldenEye or Spectre, as I kept presuming. Maybe their new line, which is coming out in spring, is all based on 007 First Light. But if that's the case, make All Our Brown the kind of official second sort of brand to be having product releases coming from them. With Corgi obviously releasing the Aston Martin Valhalla, you will now get All of Our Brown releasing clothing which is seen in 007 First Light. I'm still pretty confident that Amiga may come forward and release the Chronograph Seamaster as seen in First Light. Also in America, you can get 007 Coca-Cola drinks with First Light written all over them, but I don't think you can get them in the UK just yet. But yeah, it's just, again, how I see it is that Amazon and IO Interactive are really going to town with First Light. They are really going to get the marketing and the publicity up, and they're really going to get it out there. I've said to the missus a few times, come May time, I'll be having the mother-in-law ringing me up saying, oh yeah, Matthew, there's a new Bond film out. Really? Yeah, it's called First Light. Well, actually, Jacqueline, it's a video game. Oh, well, it just looked like a film. I thought it was a film. Nah, it's a video game. Oh. So, yeah, I kind of feel you can have a lot of people sort of kind of, seeing it all over the billboards and seeing all these merchandise, seeing adverts on TV and just being completely taken away that Bond is back, when in fact it's not a film, it's a video game. And I just think that is a really kind of, I think that's a way to go, to be honest. It's to try and get Bond out there, get his name out there, get it back in the public. In other news, January the 31st, La La Land had gave us a bit of an announcement on the social media platforms and said, don't expect any announcements on the 1st of February, but let's just hope that we do get titles passed and approved later on in February. This, of course, is now the last week in February, so I'm hoping that this week we will hopefully get some news, and I'm really hoping that 2 of them 6 titles is, of course, going to be A View to a Kill in GoldenEye, because we've been expecting and wanting them since Black Friday. Now, Keith Hicks, who I believe subscribes to this channel, had kind of made a valid point, because he said that, obviously we just hope that they get all the approvals sorted, because La La Land are probably going to be losing a lot of money, which I kind of totally get, and I never really thought about it, because La La Land, they've got to pay their staff, they've got to pay their people to get these master tapes, not just for Bond, but for any soundtrack. They've got to pay for the rights or sort the legal issues out, but they've got to pay and employ people to get the master tapes, to clean them up, to sort them out, to put them in chronological order, and to really kind of dig deep into the archives and just get everything together. And then you got to pay the people who kind of work on the packaging, the marketing side. So whilst they're getting paid, Neil S. Book, they probably paid him to sort of kind of get GoldenEye and A View to a Kill sorted, but La La Land can't get any of their money back until they can get the improvements, and until they can then get it announced. Obviously the whoever is holding, whoever's causing these complications probably don't even take that into account, that La La Land are probably actually kind of somewhat losing money, because they've obviously invested time and money in it, and whilst they're waiting for the final approvals and all the legals to be sorted, they can't get their money back. So I kind of totally get that. So obviously I really, really hope that this week we will get something. Also, kind of just in other quick news, which it's not kind of really Bond related, but it's kind of sort of, kind of putting the feelers out there and kind of, sort of feeding my hungry brain. Factory Entertainment over the weekend have announced that they're going to be doing a range of 3¼ inch figures from Battlestar Galactica. Now, I never really thought that the 3¼ inch figures was their thing. I know Big Chief Studios had done a range for Jerry Anderson, but obviously Big Chief Studios had kind of gone bust. And I think Big Chief Studios may have been something to do with Factory Entertainment. I don't know. But I'm thinking, well, if obviously, Factory Entertainment have got the Bond license, if they're doing 3/4-inch figures for Battlestar Galactica, there might just be a chance that they may do 3¼ inch figures for Bond. And if they do, my God, I'll be absolutely over the moon, because having 3¼ inch, well, 3¾ inch figures for Bond is something that I've been wanting for a long, long, long time. And that alone is worth an episode just on its own. Back in 2008, Corgi had some massive plans for their Bond license and for their Bond range, and they were going to release a series of 3¾ inch figures. I was kind of getting myself hyped up. That never happened. For whatever reason, it never happened, and it was such a shame. Of course, we've got San Diego Comic-Con this year, usually around July time. That is always worth going on the Factory Entertainment YouTube channel and just seeing what products they have in range. So yes, I think for today, I think that's it. So hopefully I might be back. Sod's Law, tomorrow, after this has been published, they may then announce the expanded scores from La La Land. But anyway, I will be back, and if La La Land do an announcement regarding Bond, I can guarantee you there will be another video on that. But anyway, otherwise, apart from that, yeah, keep safe, keep well. That's it for today. And I'm sure you will see me again soon. So bye-bye for now. And don't forget to like and share this channel just to get the name out there.